concepts, or is it the same training that you normally see every on day basis? What is your feedback on the training based on the
Yeah,
last 4 5 sessions?
uh, yeah, it is good. Actually, I'm still trying to learn UiPath.
Mm-hmm.
So uh, actually, I learned from
Mm-hmm.
academic course from there.
Okay.
So I'm getting the basics.
Okay. So I don't think you can learn basics from here rather than the project training. Okay, you need to
Yeah,
learn on your own.
yes.
Okay. So Karthik, what is your experience on the first 4 days of training? I know that you are not available on the first day, but other days. So since we connected earlier, before this meeting started, I know that you are working to get a job. So did this bring any difference of the way how you think with RPA projects, or is it the same, or do we need to make any changes with the training program? Karthik?
Yes, Ajay.
Yep. Yes, please tell me.
Hello.
Yeah, Karthik, please talk.
Actually, for me, I need more bit good experience on production and deployment, and so that is why I have joined this training.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't have access to production and deployment, and to know more about orchestrator queues, to know when how it works when we assign multiple bots to a single process. That is my main skill, which where I have to enhance, where I lag behind.
So yesterday we were able to give access to multiple bots and multiple users. Were you able to understand the concept or not?
Yeah, yes.
So did you get how robots are linked to an orchestrator, and one orchestrator queue is getting accessed by multiple, or when
Yeah,
one process is available, others can access the same process. So were you able to understand that?
yeah, yes.
Excellent.
And also, I need to know, suppose if I give the file path to one process when it is assigned to multiple bots, so how it works and all.
You mean to say Excel file that's getting accessed by multiple files or multiple bots?
Yeah, yes.
I'm not sure why normally people will ask this question. Just okay, fine. But in today's meeting, we will see one of a job requirement, and we will also work with Vali's um, resume. So Vali, can you please give a brief of why did you ask for this and what came in?
Actually, I don't have much experience in RPA support, so I would like to know more about this. So that's why I came up and asked you.
Okay. So with this particular item or with this particular job opportunity, let's see. So others who are also looking for jobs, see that you should not think on a normal everyday jobs, or you should not apply for each and every job that you find it online. You need to be specific on what exactly is the requirement. If that is taken care, or if you, though you make a generic resume that's suitable for most of the RPA profiles, just check on the keywords. So what exactly this profile is asking is we need a RPA support person. Uh, but earlier there is a support team. That support team is for the complete vertical or the horizontal, like complete all the teams. But now they want for each and every team they want to support team separately. Okay, the supporting automation platform. Each LOB is developing their own automation. So when we say LOB, it's line of businesses. Okay, so there is what insurance line of business, banking line of business, So Pragati, can you enlighten us if you have any idea? Pragati, Shyam, what are LOBs, and can you please tell the verticals and horizontals? How can we divide them?
So line of business, mostly we what we say, like, if I give you an example like intercompany and intra-company, yeah. So there can be some organizations like which are interacting with the different departments, but at the same time there can be some umbrella under that which different entities are operating. Like
Okay.
they might have the different structure, but they might collaborate collectively
Mhm.
in under one umbrella only. So
Okay.
that is how we can differentiate between the horizontal and vertical lines as well.
Mhm. Okay. So if we say the horizontal is RPA and vertical can be banking sector or insurance
Yeah,
sector,
domain. Yeah.
a specific domain. So there was a question earlier that's asked to Sonam. Sonam has a project in her resume that is related to airlines. What she's doing is she is scraping some data. She worked actually as a RPA developer, but now she's actually looking for new opportunities. So if anyone find any job requirement, just post to everyone so that everyone can apply. So the job requirement or job she have done is she took uh, there is an information that will be provided in the Excel. Once the Excel is provided, she need to scrape a website, and then she need to add the data and send back the report. So the interviewer question that's asked is, what is the domain that you worked on? So Sonam was completely immersed on the RPF front, or you can say she don't know much idea, or she don't have much idea on the business front, like what is a domain and how things will work and all. That's fine in the starting stage, but actually people right now are looking for the domain knowledge as well. Like if you are into banking domain, so that you will know what are the issues and how banks will work. So if you have a quick domain knowledge as well, that will work. So Sonam, are you available?
Yeah, Rajat, yes.
So do you have the answer for what is the domain of your
Yes,
work?
sir. Aviation, yeah.
Yes, so your domain is aviation. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Just understand for which company are you applying. So if it is like a generic company which accepts projects from all types of vendors, like if you take some MNCs like TCS or TechM and CTS, these vendors or all these companies will also accept or will take projects from a different organization. But if you're going into core banking organization like HDFC or JP Morgan and Chase, so and if you're going for any insurance vendor, so they are looking more on the insurance front, thinking that if you have insurance idea, then you will be able to work easily with insurance teams, and the process will can be explained easily. That's the main idea. Though you have RPA knowledge, we will be able to explain you the process easily, and you will be able to understand it. So that's the reason people ask for domain knowledge. Now, here, if you see the support, what exactly is the requirement? Code is deployed at a central location. Team is acting as a controllers and making sure the automations are running. So whatever the support team that they are that's available, uh, those teams or the members in the team are working that might be working 24/7 depending upon the project requirement. Or a few projects will be available that will run only from 9 to 6. If the support is available from 9 to 6, that should be fine. So there can be something like this. If any issues, they will escalate the work with the development team to fix the issues. Try to give them some opportunities during development. So while you are working as an RPS support team, you will be working more into a administrative part or to in monitoring part, but uh, somewhat less in the developmental front. The reason being, you need to continuously monitor the robots, monitor the logs, monitor jobs, if jobs are working or not. If there is any email, you need to reply to that emails stating the issue and how to correct with that issue. So this is the major difference, I would say, with respect to development and support team. Yes, developmental team will do more of developmental work, whereas support team also will do developmental work, but they will, as the name suggests, like if there is already a part of code that's developed and it's in production, and let's say that there is a login module that changed with the UI, and we cannot ask, or a developer need not be taken with this opportunity. Someone who is supporting can also update quick fixes for this. So these type of activities will be done by the support team. Okay, clear, Vali?
Yeah, clear. Yeah, sure.
Okay. Now let's check with your resume. Let's see what are the things that you have added in your resume. So we'll do a quick resume walkthrough as well. I have already given 3 sample resumes that's there in my GitHub profile. So please go ahead and check them, and you will be able to access. Okay, and I will tomorrow. Let's work on creating GitHub clone and working with GitHub. If you already know it, you can clone my GitHub repository and you can work with it. But yes, so this is for the team, so please, I'm not going to upload this any video to public, so please ignore with the personal details of Vali, and let's continue on the data. So we have name, mobile number, and certified UiPath advanced developer. So Vali, what I suggest you is add a quick logo on the top of this resume or as a header, so that will actually help you to quickly understand a user that you are actually a UiPath developer.
Okay, sure.
Okay, and that will help you, and you can add it on the top right. That should be fine on the header, so that will be
I'm
available in.
sorry, just one point, maybe Vali, rather than this kind of format, you can make a header and make it all aligned on one side rather than one in under the like mobile. You can see that, like you can make it just in parallel, like aligned properly on the either on the right or left anywhere, and then one side you can put some logo or you photograph whatever you want.
Okay.
Okay, see, you have all the inputs that you require. So let's go ahead and quickly update this. So if others want to update, see how we are thinking and we are updating this resume. General details like name, mobile number, and certification details, it would be better if you have it in each and every page, so that they need not scroll around to see your personal details. Okay. So this can be at the center. I'm not sure. Pragati, you can, Pragati or Shyam, if you can guide me. That's fine. I will try to make the updates. And let's go ahead and add it on the left, and email on the left, email on the left side. Great. So let me just pin this up. Okay, and then let's go ahead and add UiPath logo, UiPath certified, right? Okay, you can copy this particular logo from UiPath. Okay, open image in new tab. Let's copy this, copy image. So I suggest everyone who are going to work as RPA developers or into RPA team, go ahead and add the logo. That should be fine. There shouldn't be any issue as well. Um,
We will be provided with a badge, right? Once we complete the certification, we can use that badge also.
yes, if the certification that I have provided to others, I have added them directly to the LinkedIn profiles. So I will do the same for you as well. Okay. Please try to assign or align this particular Vali. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
So objective to seeking challenging career in RPA developer or support. Okay. Utilizing my work experience. I mostly everyone will ignore this particular objective, but sometimes it's better to keep it because you will have all the
Sorry, one
keywords.
input. Would you put the certification again here and then in the header? I think it's too much. We should remove from here. You are putting the logo and then you are putting the certification here and then again it's coming. So I think it should be collectively at one place certifications, like if someone has more than one certification.
Yes. So let's go ahead and see if there is any certifications that she have added. Um,
Yeah, it's in the first line only, certified, like she has written,
yeah,
but
that's
it just,
what I
yeah.
just want to see if there is any separate heading called
Yeah,
certifications.
actually, I certified in WebLogic also, but I didn't post, I didn't updated it.
You can update it if that helps you, then you can definitely update it. That shouldn't be a problem.
Okay.
Okay. So let's see if there are any tab with certifications. So what you can add is certified RPA developer seeking.
Okay.
RPA specialist, or what can we say? RPA expert. Uh,
I'm not expert actually.
Seeking a challenging career as RPA UiPath developer or support, utilizing my experience. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, professional skills. See, mostly we will be checking, or even when I'm checking, taking the interviews, I'll be checking mostly on the keywords. So, what are the keywords I want? I want you to work, if you have already as an experience as support, in the support team, that's what I'll be looking for. But if you don't have support, and if you know only if you are working only on the coding, or if you're working completely as a developer, it doesn't stop me to hire you if you are good with understanding, or if you are good and you are able to understand what are the roles of support engineer or support RPA support and a team, and if you are able to work on that. Okay, design development support of the bot using experienced RP best practices. So, what are the best practices, Wally? Can you please tell me?
Vajrang, sorry, one thing here. This is not professional summary. This is all we are summarizing about RPA. Yeah, so
Exactly.
I think the heading, right heading should be like, what you know about RPA, but professional summary is something different.
Okay. So, what can we keep here, Pragati?
I think for professional summary, like, whatever your highlights are, what like your tools, like, whatever you want to mention here that you want, you have knowledge of this tool, such as you can categorize different ways. But I think it's more focusing on one tool only here.
Exactly.
Is
So,
it only RPA CV we are talking about?
yes, this is completely RPA developer and or a support CV. That's it.
Okay, then probably that's fine then. Yeah.
Yeah, this is only RPA developer and support. Okay. And if you want to mention some domain knowledge, that's fine. But since we are going for RPA developer, this is okay for us. So, Wally, can you please help me out with the best practices? Because see, all the questions that you get are from your resume, nowhere else. If you keep about document understanding, I will ask you only on document understanding. If you don't keep it in your resume, I will not pull it from the cloud, and I will ask. I will not do that. So, just tell me what are the best practices that you normally follow.
I'm not sure, Vajran.
So this is a wrong answer. Can I get a correct answer from someone else?
Best practice of UiPath or
RPA.
strict
RPA.
RP?
Yes, best practices of UiPath also you can say, but there is no specific best practices only for UiPath. In general practice, what are the best practices of RPA or automation in a whole?
Okay, in automation wise, we have to keep perfect name for the all the automations, and we need to maintain. I'm I'm not sure. Sorry.
Go
So we
ahead.
can say like, frameworks, workflows, like such kind of things, if you're aware.
Okay. What? Any other? Please go ahead and answer. That's fine.
Variable naming conventions. Variable naming conventions should be proper, and there should be no overlogging. Like logging should be like information specific, so we should not provide overlogging.
Yes.
And mm,
So working with the, when we are saying this, we can mention framework. We can say that configuration files, reusable components, like how do we do the logging, like different practices, and or maybe part of components only. What we do in normally, exception handling.
Okay, so what I would suggest is take it from the beginning and see what are the best practices that you do in a life cycle. So first we will check with the analysis phase, then we will check with the documentation, then we will check with the coding, then we will check with the deployment, then we will check with the support and maintenance. So in the analysis phase, what are the best practices? Make sure the process is complete and don't automate each and every process. And have a bound process with specific business rules, and check if the process is repetitive or not. If it is not repetitive, and if it is, even if it is a bound process and it's working only for a day in a complete year, that process cannot be taken as a best example for an RPA. So this is with the analysis part. And with the documentation part, make sure you document each and every click activity. Don't miss any activities, because when we have a transition, or when we hand over the document or when we hand over the code, so others need to be able to understand what is the correct process, and is the code in line with the PDD or not, or PDD or STD, whatever the documents that we have. So we need to make sure that documents are up to date, and proper documents are properly signed off before the development actually takes place. Because if we start developing without having a complete bounded process, then user or client can access, or a client can add more information, or he will ask you continuously with a change request without completing or stopping the inputs. So then, though we started it for first 15 days, if we have completed it, then due to the new change request, we may need to redo some of the work. So before actually development, or before developing the code, just have a bound process and have a proper sign off. Let's go with the code. And in the code, you can say that there are multiple best practices that you need to follow. Just make sure that all the team members are following with the same naming convention. If you are using camel case, go ahead and use a camel case. And if you are using with the best practice that you can say is, if you are using a variable, just make sure you name it properly with, or precede it with what is a variable type. For example, if you're taking an integer variable, if you are making a variable name as age, and prefix it with int underscore or int age, so that if you see the variable, you will be able to understand what type of variable it is, rather than checking in the type of the variable. And if it is a data table, we will normally prefix it with dt. And if it is any string variable, we will append it, prefix it with str. So just make sure the naming conventions are proper. And in arguments, definitely make sure whatever the arguments that you have, if it is in argument or out argument, mention it properly. If it is an in argument, keep only in values in it. Don't keep an in argument, and don't change the type to out. So that will actually create ambiguity. Um, so after you complete variables and arguments, go with the code. So make sure that you have code as modularized as possible. Have separate components for separate screens. For example, if you are taking with a website application automation, have a separate module for login process, and have all the exception handling for that login process in that particular process flow. So in future, if you want to use the same login process for a different automation process, you can directly pull in that particular uh, user, or that particular file, and you can reuse it. So you just need to make sure that you have proper reusability, and each and every code that you are writing is properly commented. And don't keep too many default names. For example, we have click activities, we have multiple write line or logs activities. So don't keep it by default. Even when, how can you check if your code is proper or not? In UiPath, there is an option called validate file, validate project. So with those, if we have rules inbound in place, then we can go ahead and check them directly. And with respect to conditions and all, don't have more than two children if conditions, or multiple if conditions inside the other, that will actually create a tree. So avoid that condition. If you are having a second if condition, try to keep it as a second workflow and invoke it. So these are the types of items that you can say with respect to the development. The third last thing is with the deployment phase. So before deploying, we need to see whether the proper documentation is available. Do we have pre-PDD, and is the PDD in line with the code that we have developed? Proper review is completed. Do we have testing completed, and enough testing data is available to test it and complete it? And if we have all the success items as well as negative scenarios checked in the testing process, and after before moving into production, do we have a run book on how to actually execute the code? Do we have a production deployment checklist? Like, do we have in the production deployment checklist, what do we normally see? We see if the application is available, if it is available in the production machine or not. Is the production machine completely um, allocated with all the licenses, and all the installations are completed or not? All these things we need to see in the production deployment. And once the process is deployed, make sure that logs are available in the orchestrator, and proper triggers are kept to make sure if the triggers are working or not. Have a quick check run before giving a update that process updated. Have a check run and make sure that all the process is running properly. And once the process deployed, make sure you have 15-day hypercare phase. The 15-day hypercare phase is very important, because during that time we will be able to see, due to the new environment which we are running our process, we will see some errors. Bot may not trigger properly, or bot will have some issues. So we just need to see all those in the hypercare phase. And finally, with the support phase, we need to see the best practices for the support is, whenever there is an issue, inform the stakeholder that this is the issue. And if you know the fix, inform and log it properly, stating that this is the fix that you are implementing, and then go ahead and check out the code from the production or the deployment, and then make a change, and create an update, and then create a build, and then push it back, or keep all the stakeholders informed. So this is for the support specifically. And make sure that all the logs are available. And how will you check? So this is very important question, Vali. How will you check if there is any exception? How will you check, or how will you debug the process? We'll discuss that later after the best practices. Have all the members notified, and when if you are making the change, if you are not able to understand it, we need to inform it to the respective developers who are the team who actually worked on it, to make sure that the business rule or the change is properly adhering to the requirements of the initial process. So these are particular, I would say, list of items that you can talk about. I said about each and every phase of it, but if you say, oh, 5 or 6 items, and say that, okay, these are the things that I follow, even that will work. Okay,
Okay.
nice. So regarding how will you, if there is a bug, or if you found that there is an issue, how will you correct that issue, or how will you make sure that that particular issue is resolved? So I want someone to tell the answer first, and I will say if it is correct or not. So let's go ahead and please give it a try.
Vajran, can I go?
Yes, please, Karthik.
We'll have a breakpoint where the issue is. Once
Okay.
we debug and get the logs and what the actual exception is, then we'll resolve the issue. Then we'll change the code, and
See,
again,
this is the problem, Karthik. You're checking with as a developer, so support person will not do this. Anyone else who have any idea, you can talk in general, not with respect to RPA, how a support team works.
We can check in the orchestrator logs. Um,
Yes.
um, whether there is any abnormal errors there or not.
Mhm.
So, and suppose if they have any monitoring system like Kibana, so it will notify us. Uh, that is also possible.
ఆకలేస్తుందమ్మా తింటావా నువ్వు
Hello.
తినరా నువ్వు తింటావు హై మాట్లాడుతుంది నీతో ఎందుకు మాట్లాడవు నువ్వు నీతో మాట్లాడుతున్నావు నువ్వు వేస్ట్
Yeah, he's
నువ్వు
telling
వేస్ట్
to continue.
Okay. So these are the things I can say.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So whenever we have an issue, first we will check with all the orchestrator jobs. Before going into the logs, we will see the jobs first. We will see if there is any job that's failed. Then we will see with that particular job what is the queue that's in place. If you are using queues, we will see with particular queue why that particular queue item is failed, and is it only with that queue item, or do we are we facing the same issue with all the queue items? Is it failing for all the queue items? Third thing that we will do is, if the process is continuously throwing an error, if there are any triggers, first we will stop the trigger, okay, or we will make sure that the trigger is disabled, so that the bot execution will be halted for some time. Then you will check with the logs. Okay, so these are the steps that you will follow. You will not go ahead and check directly with the logs. Though you can check it, you will not be able to understand or figure out what exactly the problem is. So first you will then you will check with the logs. You will find out if there is any specific log, like earlier someone have mentioned. You need to have a specific log for each and every sub module as well. Like in login, you at the beginning we normally will write entered login, and at the end we will write exit of login, so that whenever we see the logs, okay, we will be able to understand this is where we are facing the issue. For example, while calculating, if there is an error, then we will go with the error and we will say that, okay, in calculation, the particular workflow, we have an error. So then we will go ahead and check with the code. So then we will see, uh, have a breakpoint, or if required, we will try to manually execute the process once again to make sure if it is really failing, or if it is not giving out the correct input. Then we will inform the respective team members that this particular process is failing, and we are debugging, or we're trying to rectify that issue. So one of the best way if we can do is to take the latest code from a repo. Normally everyone will follow a uh, repository to make sure that the code is updated and we have a single file, single code, and take the latest code and try to execute it in your local machine, and have breakpoints to make sure that proper logs and proper execution logs are available. If you find that issue, if you find that there is an issue, inform respective stakeholders that this is an issue, and once the issue can if you find that the issue can be resolved, go ahead and update it, and then commit the code, and then push the code into production after having all the test runs completed. And if the code is if you are not able to update the code, then you will obviously intimate to the developmental team, or someone who is responsible, or a process owner who is responsible for this, to make sure that no business is impacted due to this error. Because when we are having robots, there will be a lot of business that will be going on that's depending upon this particular automation process. You need to make sure that the process owner knows about this, and all the team members who are working with this particular or reliant on this particular automation process are intimated, and they process the requirements manually. So that's very important. If they are not processing the requirements manually, then the process will be, or the queue items will be added as a backlog, and we will not be, or respective members who are actually working or looking for the requirement, that particular job to be completed, will not be able to get the exact output. So that's again a problem with the maintenance of the code. Again, that's an internal thing, but actually as a RPA support member, you need to make sure that everyone are intimated, and once the code is updated, you will push it back to the production and have it trust run in the QA environment to make sure that particular process running, then move it to production. So did I answer it clearly, Vali, for you?
Yeah, yeah, it's
So
clear.
if you answer in the same way to someone, then there will not be any problem. Or you can add anything that you have in your mind, but make sure that the gist is understood, that someone understands that you actually have some uh, experience in support.
Okay, sure. Yeah,
Okay.
it's clear. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. So let's go back with the process. Okay. By the way, I'm not going to update each and everything in your resume. We'll have a quick review. That's it.
Sure. Yeah.
Strong knowledge in creating database connections with activity, connect activity. Okay, I think you are adding up too much on the activity base. Go with the concepts rather than going with the activities. Okay, don't say that you know about connector activity. Don't say that you know about log activity and all. That's a generic thing that everyone will know. Okay,
Okay. Okay.
just change that.
Sure.
Okay, technical things, just make sure you align things properly because things are not properly aligned. So timeline is okay, client is okay, responsibilities are okay, fine. And if possible, don't add too much about other tools. Like if you are saying, or if you are working, if it is required that you need to give out information about WebLogic, that's fine. But don't add too much of responsibilities in WebLogic because that's not required for an RPA support requirement, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
so you can remove most of the things except for the RPA requirement. Okay, so
Okay.
see, I think your resume is around 7 pages. That can be easily compressed to 4 pages or 5 pages. That should be enough.
Okay. Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, so other skills, strong engineering and scientific fundamentals. Okay. So Pragati, will you see these particular?
No,
So will you see these
not
things in your resume when you are interviewing someone?
no.
Okay, so these things can
Would
be
not look
removed.
into this one.
Yes, so this is not required. And very strong communications in public relations, except fluent in written and spoken English. So again,
But I
if
would
you
like to see at the same time, because these days everyone looks for specific domain knowledge. What kind of industry, especially, you have worked with?
exactly, exactly. So if you are working with a banking domain, then you can say that I took some certifications or I completed some courses in banking domain. So that will help you out.
Okay.
Okay, master's in education, that's fine. Just add the year if required. But other than that, nothing. So what's missing in this resume?
Project description.
So Vali, where are you from?
Uh, Dallas,
Okay.
Texas.
So yes, these resumes, when I see on-site resumes, this is what I feel. They don't keep the project description, but they keep all the responsibilities. May I know the reason why? I have seen hundreds of resumes and every resume is the same.
It's
Uh,
not like that, but it's better to keep job description. So if they are not aware of describe that, they will not keep it. That's it. But it is best to keep that description. But actually,
okay.
I have description actually.
Okay.
Uh,
Just
I
try to keep one or two lines, but if you want to explain rather than keeping it in the projects, that's fine. But try to explain what you want to, what you have done or what you want to project yourself as. Okay.
Okay, sure.
So I would not like to see any of the project, but at the same time, what Vajrang, we see normally, that what organizations you have worked, there like you can highlight your experience, that what you have done, like because project here being the contracting jobs, mixed of jobs, people switch too much. Like if
Exactly.
I start putting my projects, it will go to 18 pages. But I would like to put like what has been my achievement at that organization and what I have handled there.
Yes, absolutely. So you can also add one more thing called achievements. If you can project some of your achievements, for example, you got a pat on back award like what I have received. I got three times consequently ACE awards, which is Associate Consistently Excellent. If I am rated high for 2 years continuously, then I will be given an ACE award. So I got it around three times. So I will project myself that I worked continuously in on the top for 4 years continuously. So that I can project it, right? So if you can add something like that, but these things will come at the end. These things will never come at the beginning. Okay. So
Okay.
if someone is if someone completely took your resume and he is completely checking with your resume, this will come definitely at the end, not in the beginning.
Okay.
Okay.
Actually, yeah, I have mentioned in the LinkedIn those
Okay.
things, my achievements, those.
Yes. Yeah.
Actually,
Just try to. Okay. One more thing you can do is you can also give your LinkedIn profile if required.
okay. Yeah. Actually, these are the description I gave in LinkedIn. Are you able to see? Yeah.
Yes, I'm able to see. Yes, I have seen the projects and you mentioned it correctly. Just add it in your resume because the interviewer may not be able to see LinkedIn when interviewing you.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
So let's stop with the discussion with resume and with the support role. But I do hope understand that you will be able to get through this interview. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
So we have Pragati adding up
Added
a
this
key
as something
points.
key responsibility, you can mention like something like this in that what you have done.
Okay.
So what has been your achievements in particular?
So in RPA space, you can say that you worked, you completed workflows, you worked with RE framework, you have developed 10 plus projects in RPA or in your previous experience, and you have experience with Orchestrator, with the latest version of Orchestrator and the previous versions. You know how to migrate code between the different versions of orchestrators and different work versions of studios. So these things you can definitely add. These are generic, but this will definitely add value.
Okay. Actually, can you please tell me once again how to upgrade the orchestrator? That one.
Okay, that is particularly or that is for a infrastructure engineer, but as a support engineer, if you are asking me, you will see if the orchestrator is up and if all the orchestrator robots are connected properly with the previous orchestrator that's available. Is the new orchestrator also working the same way? And are you having proper logs? And check if the jobs are executing proper, all the triggers are properly taken and all. So again, you need to come back and see if the bot is working. As a support developer or support engineer, your job is to make sure that the bot is working. You need to make the robot continuously working. That's it, nothing else.
Okay, so both are different, infrastructure engineer and support engineer.
Yes, correct. You will not install or you will not add any updates or you will not do that.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. So in RPA, you also may have if a solution architect is good enough, he will have an idea about DevOps as well. How can he configure Jenkins and how can he configure the things? But I'm not good in that. I'm accepting it. So I know how to do that, but I don't know what exactly the code to be written. So that is a different team. That's a DevOps RPA team or DevOps team, the who can check with the orchestrator and they can do the DevOps part, and we will be using that. That's one time created that will be reused by the team.
Okay, that is CI/CD protocol and Azure, right?
Exactly.
So that's okay.
Exactly. Okay.
In the DevOps, actually, we have the structure. Like, they can have the structure of the error logs, and everything can be set up in particular that it will be something like, if all the HTML files. So there are already all the installations are normally done on the such systems, and you just, configure the things accordingly and integrate with that, those queues.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Pragati. So I want others also to go ahead and speak up because I see only three members talking in this, me, Pragati, and Valli. So others, I think sometime we have Karthik as well joining us in the meeting. So any questions because we have last 15 minutes in our training session for today. So this is a complete new meeting today that we had working on for today's discussion. Yes, Basak want to say something. I guess she had a hand raise.
Yes. I was able to attend lately. What was the topic of today's discussion?
So today we are trying to figure out if the resumes are properly prepared or not, and we are checking out how to crack an interview.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So you can go ahead and check in the recording. I hope I am recording this session. Let me
Okay.
just quickly check. Yes, this is getting recorded. So last 15 minutes. So what can we do? Can we complete the project within 15 minutes?
And I have another question today. I missed the 3 lessons too, so I don't know if there is any project should we do during this 5 days.
Yes, so the first week I'm concentrating on the basics like the project structuring and all. The next 2 weeks we'll be working completely on the project. So you are good for now.
Okay.
But check with the recording
Vajra,
since you have missed first 2 or 3 sessions. That will help you. Yes, Karthik,
Okay.
tell me.
Vajrang, I think there is some interview question in the group. If you can take that for now, is it fine?
Okay, so
Yeah,
that's
that is there actually.
okay.
That is developer question. Yeah.
Those are developers questions. Okay, so those are in our teams. So am I sharing my screen or not? Tell me that first.
Yes.
Yes, we can see your navigation.
Yeah. So UiPath task capture zip. Okay, someone added it. Pragati, thank you so much, Pragati. And interview questions. Nice. Your automation needs the configuration pretending the application to be stored separately. How will you leverage your existing config file in the RE framework to accomplish it? Okay. Your automation needs a configuration pretending to application to be stored separately. Okay. How you will leverage? Okay. This is good. Anyone can answer or understand this question. See, we are already having a config file, but a specific application needs a separate config file. So you need to store that application config file somewhere in RE framework. How can you do that?
So we can store it in shared folder.
You are asked how will you share it or how will you create it in the config from the config. Tell with respect to config.
We can give the config file path in the generic RE framework config file.
Okay. And what would be the file path type be?
Should be stored in asset.
Shared.
Okay. See, the question is simple. Like if I have a JSON file and how can I add those details into that particular application? So the answer can be something like this. We have 3 options to do that, or you can say that you have 2 options to do that. First thing, if you are not changing the settings continuously, then you can have it directly in the code in the data folder, and you can make sure that whenever you are reading Excel or whenever the init is happening, you are also adding it as a Excel path, or you are adding it as a path. So after reading the init, you will actually write a code to read this config as well, external config as well. Second option is the same thing, but instead of having it in the local data folder path, you will have it on the shared drive, and you will make sure that you will give the shared folder path in the config. The third thing is if we are continuously changing the path, what can we do? Because sometimes that we can do that. So have the config that particular path in the assets in the orchestrator, and give the asset name in the config file, so that whenever there is a change, you can directly change in the asset in the orchestrator, and that will be reflected here. For example, there is a API call that need to be made, from where you can get the settings and you can add it. So keep the URL in the asset, read the URL, make a HTTP call and get the details, and then you work on it. Okay. So this is more of an
Okay, sir.
understanding on how you are working with different types of tools and activities to get the job done. Nothing else. There is no straightforward answer for this.
Okay.
How many types of exception? Okay, how many times a system exception would be retried in RE framework when queue retry count as true and config has max retry count as 3? Okay, so do you know that if you are working with queues, whatever the condition may be, queue retry will not be taken from the config?
Yes.
Okay, see, the logic is whatever the retry and max retry are available. If you are using anything other than the config, that's when these are used. Like if you are using other than the queues, that's when these are used. But if you are using queues, then queues by default will have uh, retry and max number of retries. So at that point of time, these particular keys will not be utilized. Just check with the retry in RE framework, set transaction status. Okay, how a transaction is set to retried in the orchestrator queue while using RE framework. Okay, if you want to set it as retried, just make sure that retry is enabled in the orchestrator queue. That's how you will do that. Now, so whenever the queue item is done, then you will add it as system exception. So when you add it as system exception, then orchestrator will check if that queue has a retry option, then it will add a new item, and that will link it. You need not do anything. You can actually try this if you want while working with the code. While performing data scraping, the grid ID of the table is changing every 1 minute. And is it a required parameter to select the data? Okay, and it is a required parameter to select the data. Explain the steps involved in accomplishing successfully capture of data every time. So if the ID is changing every time, we can go with the structure. There is no need to go only with the ID. If we have a proper selector, then we can definitely do that. But if we are not able to do with the data scraping with the table, then you may need to use data scraping. Like in Amazon, if you see, new data will be added, updated. So, but the structure will be same. So that you can utilize. What are the steps involved in executing a stored procedure in SQL or Oracle database? First thing, connection. Second thing, execute query or execute prod on. So, do you know the difference between execute query and execute non-query?
Yeah, few things are coming under select.
Uh,
Select.
okay, who is answering this? Who is answering? Only.
Yeah, execute query
Yeah.
is like a select query, and the execute non-query is like insert, update, delete.
Okay.
Insert. Yeah.
To make it very simple, take it like this. Querying is asking a question, right? You are expecting some answer. Okay.
Yeah, execute query is that gives the data in return, and non-execute query is like that is not like give any output in return.
Yes. So
All the DML under non-query, right?
DML, I think I may need to recheck about DML. But yes, I understand that you're talking about database language. So yes, if you are asked a question, you are expecting an answer. So query is asking a question, and if you are getting answer, that is execute query. And non-query is if you are not asking a question, you are saying something to be done, then that is non-query, execute non-query. Okay,
Okay.
simple. And there is also an activity called execute store procedure. Then we need to give the store procedure name and all the parameters for the store procedure, and after completing it, you may need to disconnect that particular session using disconnect activity. And it's a good practice to have everything in the try catch block, so that even if there is some error that happens, proper logging will be done. Got it?
Yeah.
Can we have a try catch inside a catch block? Yes, we can have it. If you want to check with that, check in where can we have it? You can definitely have it in uh, process. Go to process state, and in that process state there is a try catch block and the finally block. In finally block, you will again have a try catch block. Just go ahead and check it. Set transaction status while you're in work. Okay. Please explain. Okay, we have 6 more minutes. Oh my god, how many questions do we have? This is very simple. I can complete it. Let's try. Um, okay, where are we?
Seventh question.
Yes, assume a process A which is invoking a process B. Whenever there is an exception, process B sets an out argument flag and throw an exception. Process A code is to validate and output the argument and send an email. What would happen when there is an exception in process B? So when there is an exception in process B, then it will obviously not set the output argument flag. Or you can also see the flag. If you are saying it as a flag, it is a boolean value. It can be either true or false, nothing more than that. If it is checking for a true value, and if it gets a false, then obviously process A will throw an exception stating that process B did not set it properly. Okay.
Okay.
What is the difference between get queue items and get transaction item? Get queue items will not change the state of that particular queue item. It will give you the list of items. That's it. Get transaction item will get only one item for you to process. Okay. Now explain a scenario where IEnumerable variable should be used. When you are using it in a collection, for example, if you are using a data table, and if you want to use a data table as IEnumerable, that's when you are converting the data table into a list of items. And the other option, the other place where I see normally is find children, and find children is a place where you will get a list of IEnumerable of activities or elements. So that's where you can see this particular enumerable. How to find APIs provided by UiPath Orchestrator. Explain how to start a process using start jobs. I'm not sure if everyone will ask this question. These are like you are asking too much for peanuts you're paying. Okay, again, if someone asks this, like how can you do that? There is an Orchestrator API document that library documents docs that are available. First, we need to authenticate and to get the bearer token. Once you get the bearer token, then you need to make a request with that bearer token to start a job. So start a job also will have a URL to call. It's like calling a URL where you orchestrate. Like, see, if you are hitting google.com into a browser, the request is going into a web server, and web server is giving you out a result, right? The same way, API also will be having a URL, and if you make an API request or make a HTTP call for it, it will give you a result as a start job. That's it. But again, if they are asking you in detail, you need to practice to answer that. Okay, how do you transfer all the queue items, assets, process names, credentials to other system or orchestrator? Oh my god. Yes, if you are having any migration tool provided by UiPath, you can do that. But I didn't manually ask. It's very tough to do all the things manually. But yes, if you are having orchestrator activities, what you can do is you can get all the asset values and store them in the Excel, and you can also add queue items and all. You can get queue items and you can add it in the queue, and then you can transfer it. I'm also not sure in this, but if you are, if you find any answer online, please go ahead and post it. If you are upgrading the orchestrator, how to do that? Again, out of the bound, because that is to an infrastructure engineer. How did you support jobs monitoring? Okay, this is easy. How did you support your bots monitoring system once you install? What kind of monitoring have you set up? So there can be two types of monitoring. First thing is email monitoring. Second thing is log monitoring. Third thing is alert monitoring in the orchestrator directly. So whenever the process failed, if the bot already has code written, if the bot is failed, send an email, then you will get it. In the orchestrator also, we will have an option to set an email whenever there is a job failed, so that you can set it up. You can check that. What are the what monitoring system are you using? Did you configure it? How did you trace a log? Okay, so Kibana dashboard is one of the dashboard that you can use, and orchestrator you can use, and UiPath analytics you can use, I guess, if required. But yeah, Kibana is suitable. Please explain a couple of use cases in UiPath possible as is process and to do method. Okay, these particular generic answers I can definitely give you. See, each and every process, any software, anything, there is only one thing that will happen or two things that will happen. Take data from one place and place it in the other place. How you do it is the thing that will matter as a software. Okay, so if you are copying data from website, copy the data and place it in your Excel. If you want to add it back to the website, read that Excel data and place it somewhere. If you want to scrape some data from the website or take the PDF data, every everything that's getting done is data manipulations only. So try to read some projects online and try to understand those projects so you can tell as is method, as is and to do method. To be, I think that is not to do, it's to be process.
Oh,
So
yeah.
so here you can think something like this. Okay, we are out of the time, but I will try to complete within a minute. Just see with that. So whenever you're trying to answer this, try to add a story for your answer. That this is the process, and you do it manually, and but using the robot, we are able to automate it. Okay. Again, a interviewer will not ask you to draw a diagram in the interview and show me the as is and to be process. Just you need to be able to explain. Regex process, yes, you need to have an understanding of regex method. There are regex activities inside UiPath. Go ahead and check them out. Excel automation, how do you append? There is append range activity, all possibilities, what are the changes do you face? So if the data is in between some columns or different columns instead of the first column, how do you do that? All these things. So yes, have mentioned. Okay, this thing I want to check it later. I'm not sure if people have added it while I'm answering this question, but can we see it later? But for today's session, we are done. If you have any
Sure.
questions, we can talk. I want to continue the recording. Let it be because I missed few points when I stopped the recording. Let it continue. And yes, please go ahead and ask the questions.
Actually, in Marketplace, they have uploaded few automations, right? So few automations running on 2018, 2020, and 2019.
Yeah.
So, but now we'll be having, but I have a 2020 in my computer, but it is not supporting. So how to do that? But it is not running actually.
Okay, see, activities will be supported. All the thing that you need to is you need to downgrade the packages and you need to upgrade them one by one.
Okay.
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 So if it is in 2018, that can be of 5-6 versions earlier. So in the managed packages, you need to downgrade the package version and you need to install.
Okay, how to do that? Actually, just
Click on
delete
manage.
that.
Click on manage packages. Okay.
Okay.
And there you will find versions on the right side. Okay. So that you can do. So Prashant is eagerly waiting for us to start up with the project. So Prashant, I have asked you to create a project on scraping the data. Were you able to complete the PDD for that?
Yeah, sure.
No, I'm asking you if you have already completed it or not.
Yeah, I already did.
Okay, so can we discuss that in tomorrow's meeting? So what you can do is take RPA sample website that I have given earlier, scraping the data and storing it in Excel. That's a simple thing that we need to do. See, here we are not learning on how to scrape data and all, but how to implement that as a project. That's what we are trying to learn. So what I suggest you to do is take that simple use case and write as is process to be process, and you must already have some PLD samples that are available from task capture. Go ahead and implement that. So let's see it in tomorrow's session.
Okay.
Okay. Once the PDDs are done, let's have a quick sign off from each other. So one person need to send it to other person. So like I think there is a game, monkey game. You just need to send it to others to have it reviewed, and then once you have the approval, then you can start working on it.
Okay, sure.
Okay. I hope you like this session for today. Any questions, please go ahead and ask, or else we can drop off from the call.
For regarding my resume, as for fresher, what should I include in my resume?
Soumya, I haven't seen your resume, Soumya.
No, I created one regarding based on friend suggestion, but as you told, do it as a fresher. I don't know what to include in that one.
Okay, so first create something, then you send it to me. I will tell you if it is correct or not.
What should be included in that first?
Okay, so Soumya, resumes are something that's too personal to you. I can guide you, but I cannot create it for you. So copy the data from someone else. So what you can do is you can take Sundarvalli's resume, change the name, change the data, and change the projects as well, and bring back with some resume. Then we will update.
Yeah, I did that, but I did not copy. I just created something with the experience. So, like as you and Pragati told that you should not fake the experience. So I just don't know what to do with that
Okay.
5 years gap.
Okay. Do one thing. Send it over to the team. Let us review. Let's see how we can change that.
Actually, I also 5 years gap. Just I put it blank. That's it. Actually, 10 years gap. Yeah.
You have answers, Soumya. So don't think too much. I'm
Yeah,
also
don't
trying.
think too much.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
also trying to
Yeah.
get some sample projects or what you can say is offline projects for you. Those are paid projects, I would say, but I'm just checking to bring them for you. So you will have the experience, but that's not related to this particular training session. That's offline. So I'll add those to you. Okay, I will pick up the people and I'll give them. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Pragati, for your inputs. We are not hearing Shyam others frequently. Uh, okay. Thank you so much, everyone. Bye bye.
Bye. Come.
Wait.
Surya,